I have to agree with everybody that stood up there and talked tonight. I mean, I live here and I live right by the river, so I know what bad water situations are. I work right off of 40 for an excavating company, so I have to go right through Etna Township every morning. It's awful. It's getting worse by the day. Where you used to have one light, you have 15, and I certainly don't want to see my village like that. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Hey, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Maybe this is just,
Todd, Mary.
yes, yeah.
So,
So my question is this property up here on 40, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres that ain't got shit on it at 37. Why Kirkersville?
Because it's not for sale at 37. I mean, this was for sale. That wasn't.
And the 10-foot mountain the dirt mounds, I don't know who plants trees, but the trees planted on my property and planted with my dad when I was 6 years old, and I'm 49 years old. Pine trees grow 1.5 foot a year. Hell, we'll all be dead by the time they're developed. And got the buildings. We'll all be dead.
Sure, do you have anything you want to say
No.
at this point? Ted, do you have anything else?
No.
Jack, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Debbie?
I said my piece.
I think it's important that you folks realize that we live here in the village also. And talking, Mr. Servant, I live on Main Street right down here. I know exactly what you're saying about trucks and cars and everything else flying down through here. One of the problems we have in the village, and I'm not crying or anything, just realistically speaking, is we've had a very difficult time, as I understand it over the past years, is keeping our police force here because it's like everything else. There's jobs elsewhere and we can't pay them. It's that simple. We do have, the current chief has five auxiliaries. They were out here this afternoon working, I know that. But we don't have people, we don't have a Charlie Alcorn that lives right here next door to me where I live now, to control the traffic or to monitor the traffic. Well, we're doing that. So it's not that we don't want to, we're doing our best. I understand your concerns and we have the same concerns. We also have to look at, as Ms. Seymour had pointed out earlier, we have to look at the long-range programs for the village. And as was pointed out, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not prognosticating or anything else. But there would be nothing to keep Red Rock, for example, from doing exactly what the group did out here southwest of town. I'm not saying we should do it or not, but I'm just saying, if we don't, there's nothing to keep them from applying to detach from the village and go into Harrison Township. And we all know that Harrison Township, Todd, you sat there through 3 meetings. The best way to manage it is for us to manage it, not to let Harrison Township manage it, in my
Come up with a
opinion.
better plan.
Pardon?
Come up with a better plan than what's being presented.
Well, I think, Todd, you're listening to what's been said here today. You hear what the concerns of the people are, right?
Yes, sir.
That's why you're here. Okay. So, I do appreciate the input from the people that are here. Thank you for that.
Can
Yes,
I add? Caroline French.
Caroline, yes.
I just really appreciated your comment about, I do believe that the village of Kirkersville needs to do something to create some sort of development. And I bought my property, I want my property to increase in value. I want to be able to, I want to sell my property someday and make a profit. I don't begrudge the Emsweilers wanting to do that same idea. I just question if putting warehouses in a spot which are going to be sided by 3.5 sides of residential housing is the smartest way to do for all of us to potentially lose then value in our homes, because this is the type of development that you're proposing. I guess that's as simple as I can say it. I want to make money someday on my house. I don't begrudge M's or others, but gosh, don't let all of us homeowners lose value on our house for this type of development.
Well, it's gonna, 40, I mean, if this continues, that's all 40's going to be. Because Etna got it started, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, no offense.
I'm trying to slow it down, so.
But, and I live at the edge of town, so, and I've got farmers on all sides of me that probably will not develop. And so I'm kind of fortunate that way, except I have the river, which is a very big headache. But, you know, I've been here 36 years, you know, I raised my kids here, I've always loved Kirkersville. But I don't wanna see it turn into Etna. I mean, we do need some growth. I mean, we died a long time ago. We need to be brought back to life. I just don't know that distribution centers are the way to do it.
How about parade of homes though? You bring in millionaires, let them pay the taxes.
350,000
How about $500,000?
5 acre lots minimum.
If you have something to say, just raise your hand, we'll write it down.
Apologize.
It's okay, I just trying to keep it under managed. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Michael Miller, 127 Duncan Drive.
Come on up.
My name is Michael Miller, 127 Duncan Drive, in Etna Township. I'm also the president of the HOA for Zeller Acres. So coming here we brought this up at our meetings, just representing our residents. You guys brought up the police force and the difficulty with that. Has there been any discussion about, with these potential distribution centers, the increase in calls that they're gonna see? Are they gonna be able to cover those? Has that been looked at all?
Well, common sense says they're paying a Lincoln County sheriff, one Lincoln County sheriff to patrol all the area of Etna.
I think
We've got two, we've got two more coming because of the number of increased calls.
Okay, yeah.
So have you guys talked to Etna Township or even Pataskala? Because I have buddies who work for Pataskala PD, and they are well underpaid as well as any force. It was quite interesting to hear from them that the Lincoln County sheriffs actually make more than our Pataskala police officers. And the increased calls that they're getting for Amazon, so it's actually Pataskala police are getting those calls at third shift to go do that. And it is a nightly occurrence with them. And it is drugs that are coming in from Columbus that they're getting calls for, or high-speed chases that are ending up at Amazon. So has the township at all talked to the surrounding police departments about what they've seen, what costs they've had?
I already know.
What does Etna pay to have a sheriff in the township for just one guy? You know what the figure is
Total cost is about $100,000 a year.
for one officer?
That includes all his benefits and that, and then we also have to pay for his vehicle,
His cruise,
which
yeah.
is about $50,000, and that lasts about 3-4 years. So we're bringing on 2 more deputies. Right now we have 2 deputies covering morning and afternoon shift. We don't have specific coverage for late night. That's just general coverage. And as a resident, I always thought we've got 20 deputies going around the county. There's maybe 5 for the entire county for every shift. So I will say that the increased number of calls, especially with Love's Truck Stop, we're getting the sheets on 310 and 40. It's, I could see where the economic development and tax revenue coming in is going to be a benefit, but you're going to have costs too with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. No, it's okay. I didn't know that. I just talked to my buddies who are, they know that. So, and then with the water issue, I know our pond that we have in Zeller's Acres flows into the South Fork River. And we've had both the US Army Corps of Engineers and the Ohio EPA come out because we have multiple wetland areas in in the area. And the one area that's behind us, actually, there's over 30 acres, and this is from the Lincoln County Engineer's Office, 30 acres of water surface runoff that drains to this one area behind, in our community, and that area then drains into the pond and then goes into the river then goes into Buckeye Lake. So
It comes to my property.
yeah, right. So, and that's where the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers came in and said, you know, and kind of explained this to what was going on, because there was a house that was supposed to be built behind us, a group home, $1 million group home, gorgeous home. But when they dug it, they were ready to pour the foundation. They had that huge rainstorm 3 years ago. The entire thing flooded. They had to go get a pump from Toledo to pump out for 3 days straight the water in that area. But that water all goes to that pond then goes through it, and then it goes down towards Buckeye Lake. So there are wetlands throughout the area. So and I believe there's a couple wetlands in that area that are potentially being rezoned. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Back to the planning and zoning board, any comments? Presented some good thoughts for us tonight. We appreciate the information that you've had. I will share with you, at this point then, from the zoning ordinance, some items that we are supposed to use when we consider rezoning of this nature. Some of it is addressed in what you folks said tonight. Some of the things you said tonight are not addressed here, so just bear with us. The proposed development is consistent with all respects with the purpose, intent, and applicable standards of the zoning code in this chapter. Proposed development generally conforms with the strategic comprehensive plan or portion thereof as it may apply. The proposed development advances the general welfare of the village. The benefits, improved arrangement, and design of the proposed development justify the deviation from standard development requirements included in the zoning code. Where applicable, the relationship of buildings and structures to each other and to such other facilities as are appropriate with regard to land area, proposed density of dwelling units may not violate any contractual agreement contained in any utility contract then in effect. And that goes on. There are another 20 items that we're to consider as we consider this request. So please understand that as we look at this, we understand that people have invested money in the village. Mr. Mary moved here. Ms. Seymour moved here. I moved here 51 years ago. Terry, I think you've lived here in town a while.
Oh, yeah.
Teddy, you've been here a while. But so it's not that, you know, we're trying to figure out for the village, for you, what is going to work out here. So please bear with us, understand that we have to make this decision. We don't take it very lightly at all. We have to make considerations. Mr. Sosa, do you have any comments to add to our?
Not with respect to the overall discussion, once you guys decide to head toward, like, approval or not approval, I do have some comments at that point,
Okay.
just to give you direction.
Comments from the planning board as to what they'd like to do this evening?
Well, you know I'm gonna make a motion
motion to recommend approval is just a cleaner, easier way, because then if you vote yes, it's you're approving, if you vote no, you're against approving, as opposed to the opposite, then you have the double negative, or I have a motion to disapprove, so I'm voting no, which is really voting yes. It gets very confusing in the
Well, I
record.
knew how it should have been done, but he said to do no or yes, so if they wanna make a motion to approve it, let them do that.
I would recommend, again, the vote is yours, and you can however you want it to be. I would make a motion to recommend approval, and I do think there are some conditions in there that that you need to include in there. Because remember, then it would just be passed on to council, and council will have its turn to do all of, to have a public hearing, and then actually have a rezoning, take effect if they approve it, so. That's how and then really, then your recommendation has to be given to council, and then, because what I can do is, after you have the motion and the conditions, and it's voted on, I can make a draft of that recommendation, because to report it to council, there has to be a physical piece of paper or something. I can do that between now and your meeting on the 26th, I won't be in town on the 26th, but I can have that, so you can approve that written recommendation, it can make it to council by the meeting on the 2nd, and that, it'll be out of your hands and it'll be out to council. So I do, like I said, I have at least 4 conditions I thought of when I was working on this today that you want to include in your motion. You may have others. You may not like the ones I have. I'll offer them for thought.
At this point, we have a motion on the floor, and we can do one of two things with that motion. We can let it die for lack of a second, and then consider the alternative. Or B, we can second it and vote on it. The problem being, as Mr. Zett said, we get into those double negatives, and we've all seen those on ballot issues before, and it's very confusing to people exactly what you're trying to do. But I'm not trying to sway people. If we want to vote not to do it, that's the choice that we have. So at this point in time, but to continue with the motion, before we do anything else, we either need a second or it needs to die for lack of a second. Hearing no second, the motion dies for lack of a second. Is there any other motion? There'd be a motion to consider with other thoughts. To get us all dead center, I will make that motion that we forward this motion to the zoning commission or to the village council.
Motion to recommend approval.
Recommend approval of the proposed PUD.
I'll second.
But if you're gonna have conditions to it before Terry seconds, you should include those conditions. So,
And I know you have some conditions that
I
you thought that
just,
we should add.
for thought, yes. I had 4 that I had thought of. The first condition being that the applicant has to apply for and obtain all necessary federal, state, and local permits and approvals, and then provide those approvals to the village once they're obtained. Second one, comply with all recommendations and requirements of the West Lincoln Fire Department with respect to access. Third, the applicant has to pay in full the required rezoning application fee. Kind of important. 4, that the applicant / these property owners, it's all the same, annex the property into the village of Kirkersville. This has been identified in the application so aptly as, quote, parcel to be annexed. So that's 6 acres out front on 40. Those are at least the 4 conditions I had thought of. Again, you may like those, may have more, but those are the 4 important ones and necessary.
With those 4 conditions, Terry, do you still second the motion?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion conditionally approve the application with the four conditions, and, Connie, Becky, Mr. Coe, you have that. You have those that you can put into the minutes then, right?
You'll give me the full wording.
Yes.
Yeah, I have it recorded.
Now, David, this goes on to council for their approval, correct?
Right.
Correct. Because the rezoning actually happens once council approves it.
Right.
It's nothing more than like the groundwork to get it to council.
So we have a motion with conditions, we have a second. It leaves us at the point of discussion. Any discussion from the members of the planning commission? No? Okay, Debbie? Any comments?
No.
Okay. Okay, call for a vote.
Terry,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Debbie.
No.
Okay, I voted 3-1, the motion will be forwarded to the village council. Once the village council takes it up, there will be, I believe, 3 hearings.
Yeah, there'll be 3 readings of the ordinance, one of which will be another public hearing.
Right.
And notices that will go out. So people will have opportunity to speak again. And I will draft up that report for you guys to look at on the 26th.
Thank you.
I will also draft up the rezoning ordinance for council.
That concludes the purpose of this meeting. Motion